Police officers sure are law enforcement officials who are tasked with maintaining public order, protecting individuals and property, and preventing and investigating crime. However, there have been instances where police officers have abused their power, used excessive force, and violated people's rights, particularly those from marginalized communities.
Somebody help me!
These actions can lead to distrust and fear of law enforcement, exacerbating already strained relationships between the police and the communities they serve. But can they exploit such power? What are the legal penalties if they do so? And if the police abuse his power, would they be treated differently? Stick around as we take a closer look at two of the most brutal cases that could make us think of cops as judicial pillars twice. Our first case kicks off with Sergeant Mario Cardona versus Daniel Garza. Daniel Garza was helpless after being thrown and pinned to the ground. Officer Mario Cardona, who Garza had known for years, was on the verge of breaking his wrist. Garza recalled, "I was trying to be a man and trying to hold in the pain, but man, that wrist lock hurts." He's just bending it and bending it. But what compelled Cardona to go so far? It turns out that his actions were motivated by rage toward Garza, whom he accuses of attempting to kidnap his stepdaughter. Are cops bestowed such authority? It seems that the two men had quite the history, with Garza having previously dated Cardona's stepdaughter, Naomi Villanueva. The relationship had hit rock bottom, with Villanueva moving out of her parents' house to live with a friend. In May 2015, Garza allegedly took Villanueva without her consent from her friend's house and brought her to her parents' house in Whittier, where Cardona lived across the street. Cardona saw Garza doing pilots in his yard and ordered him to come down to the street. As soon as Garza came down, Cardona began his assault. According to Garza, he was not the aggressor, and a neighbor who witnessed the incident testified in Garza's favor. The sheriff deputies who arrived at the scene noticed redness on Garza's face, bruises and abrasions to his knees, and redness on his wrists. Garza filed a complaint against Cardona, which led to a federal lawsuit against Cardona, Chief Beck, and the city of Los Angeles. Garza alleged false arrest, unreasonable search and seizure, excessive force, assault and battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. A video of the incident filmed by one of Garza's neighbors was also presented at the trial. They had made up a story of what had happened to make him look like a hero and me look like a criminal, says Daniel Garza. The U.S. District Judge Stephen V. Wilson presided over the hearing where the former deputy city attorney, Michael Amarian, spoke in defense of the city. The jury found Cardona to be acting with malice as an off-duty officer, and on June 26, 2017, they ordered him to pay Garza $210,000 in damages. On top of that, the court added another $664,000 in attorney's fees and $26,000 for post-trial costs. The city of Law refused to take responsibility for Cardona's actions and even refused to indemnify the officer, forcing him to pay for the charges out of his pocket. Jim DeSimone, Garza's attorney, claims, "This is the problem with the left. This is why people are out on the street." The case is a clear example of police officers using excessive force against individuals and getting away with it. In this case, however, Garza was able to stand up to the authorities who violated his rights, and he was able to win his lawsuit against Cardona. The jury's decision to find Cardona guilty of acting with malice sends a strong message that law enforcement officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens. It is worth noting that this case also highlights the importance of civilians being aware of their rights and standing up to law enforcement officers when they feel their rights have been violated. Garza's decision to file a complaint and a lawsuit against Cardona shows that individuals can take action against police brutality and excessive force. As more and more people become aware of their rights and are willing to take action, law enforcement officers will be held accountable for their actions, and if you sue a cop in LAA for excessive force, you are in for a wild ride. However, Garza's decision to stand up to Cardona and the authorities who violated his rights resulted in a victory for him, sending a strong message that law enforcement officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens. The case of Harold Hill is just a perfect example of how our justice system can go wrong. From a gruesome rape and murder to a wrongful conviction, this case definitely ticks all the boxes. So, what underwent? First off, we have the detectives who were assigned to the case, Kenneth Bordeaux and John Halloran, the so-called beacons of justice. They were the ones who got the confession out of Peter Williams, who was later found to be in jail at the time of the crime. So, how did they churn out a false confession of someone who wasn't even there? Hill's confession is also questionable, as he claims that he was physically and mentally abused until he confessed to crimes he didn't commit. Is this the kind of behavior we expect from our law enforcement officers? Moving on to the trial itself. Hill was only 16 years old when the crime was committed, but was tried as an adult at the age of 31. This is an interesting move from the prosecution, considering that neither of the defendants had a criminal record prior to the incident. The jury found Hill and Young guilty of murder, and they were sentenced to life without parole. But 13 long years later, DNA tests revealed that the hair found at the crime scene and the cellular materials under Kathy Morgan's fingernails didn't match either of the defendants. Think of the agony Hill went through for something he didn't do. What made Hill hold on to his life is still astonishing. Despite this evidence, the prosecutors disputed the findings, suggesting that the hairs were unrelated to the crime and that the cellular material could have come from sweat or drool left over by the recovery team. It's shocking that the prosecutors were so stubborn, even in the face of such clear evidence. Harold and Young were eventually released from prison, but tragedy struck when Young was killed in a hit-and-run incident. Hill, however, filed a complaint against the city of Chicago, the police, and the two detectives involved in the case, accusing them of forcing a confession and violating his civil rights. The case was settled for $1.25 million, with Hill receiving $500,000, and the rest going to attorney's fees. It's surprising that the detectives were only asked to pay a measly $7,500 each for their part in this whole debacle. Do you think that is bad? Wait till you hear this. It's also worth noting that Hill was later convicted again for an unrelated armed robbery charge and is currently serving 27 years in prison. But despite this, it's clear that the justice system failed Harold Hill in the past. This case highlights the importance of reforming our justice system to ensure that wrongful convictions don't occur, and that those who abuse their power are held accountable. The case of Harold Hill is a tragedy of errors, starting from the investigation to the trial and subsequent conviction. Being wrongfully imprisoned for 13 years, Hill was not awarded a chance to conform to life outside because he was turned into a criminal by the system. The system absolutely messed the hell out of him, and the cops only paid $7,500 each. When cops do what they did, they need to be locked away for at least as long as the victims they put in jail. What do you think of these cases? Which do you think is most unfair? Sound off in the comments below and make sure to let us know if we missed out on anything. While you are at it, make sure to hit that subscribe and leave a like to never miss an update from us.
Good morning, I'm Officer Parker with the Guyton Police Department. Any reason you ran that stop sign right there?
What stop sign?
The one right there at Parker's.
The one that I sat at for like 5 minutes waiting for traffic got through?
You have a driver's license.
I do.
Alright, can I get it?
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, shoot. I need a debit card, huh?
I don't want that. Just give me a second, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, here you go, Mr. Harville. Please be more careful at the stop signs, okay?
I got you. Hey, man. You know I got a dash cam, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
It's a stop sign right there. And if you have a dash cam, I'll show you running the stop sign. So. Okay. Have a good day.
You too.
In this incident, a driver named Andy Harville is pulled over by a police officer named Marcus Parker. The officer falsely accuses Harville of not fully stopping at a stop sign. Harville informs the officer that the entire incident is being recorded on his dash cam. Despite being informed about the recording, the officer continues to make false accusations and insists that Harville did not come to a complete stop. However, the dash cam footage later proves the officer wrong. It clearly shows that Harville did stop for about a minute at the stop sign and was driving safely. It is revealed that Officer Marcus Parker has a history of misconduct. He had previously been put on administrative leave from a different police department for driving under the influence. He had driven home in his patrol car after consuming multiple drinks at a local restaurant while off duty. Parker had been dishonest with his supervisors about the incident before eventually resigning and joining the Guyton Police Department. The Guyton Police Department itself has concerning issues. They lack important policies regarding the use of body and dash cams, as well as protocols for the use of force, excessive force arrests, and interactions with the public. The absence of these policies undermines citizen protection and fails to provide clear guidelines for police officers. Given these circumstances, there is a call for accountability and reform within the Guyton Police Department. The officer involved, Marcus Parker, should face consequences for his misconduct. Additionally, the department needs to implement necessary reforms for better serving and protecting the citizens under their jurisdiction. Now let's move to another video.
Correct. He's being detained right now, but correct. No, I'm talking to Hernandez. I know.
Checking for an aggressive white female, unknown weapons, wearing a white shirt, blue jeans, making threats to harm herself.
Samuel Scott Jr.'s incident began when his car, a 2006 black Jeep Compass, was stolen from outside his aunt's house in Buena Vista in Miami.
Show me today, one more closely call for weapons. Esa misma es. ¿Pero qué? ¿Qué estás esperando? ¿Tú eres un sargento? Ok, yo tengo mi sargento. All right? Okay?
After the theft, Scott immediately called the Miami Police Department to report the incident and seek assistance in recovering a stolen vehicle. However, instead of receiving help, Scott found himself wrongfully detained and arrested by the same officers he had called. Despite being a victim of a crime, the police officers believe Scott was the perpetrator based on a description that matched his appearance. Scott, who is a black man, was wearing a dark-colored shirt over a white undershirt at the time. In a body camera footage obtained by the media, Scott can be seen telling the officers that the description of the person who took off in his car was similar to his own, but he insisted that they had the wrong person.
I went over there to see the kids and everything. My kids are...
Where are your kids?
I was with them.
Where are
They're
they?
over there, what's the name? They're over at my cousin's house. So,
When?
huh?
When?
What? I've been over there since, what? I want to say at least 5:30, 6 o'clock. I actually walked back over here.
You have 2 IDs?
Yeah.
That's not good. Yeah.
Well, one is an ID and one is a driver's license.
Okay.
All right.
Scott questioned why he would call the police if he had stolen his own car, and expressed his concern for his children who were left unattended while he's being questioned.
You know what's up, okay?
All right, but... Okay.
You mind if I sit in your cars?
I really don't know
It's a bigger space.
what I did.
I really don't care, but... Alright, listen. I'm gonna reach your rights real quick. Alright?
I'm telling you guys got the wrong guy. I can confirm where I was, and I can even confirm my activities. I recently logged off of the VPN at my job.
Okay. At what time?
Roughly before I came over here, before I called you guys. But I'm telling you, you guys got the wrong guy.
Okay. The description of the guy that took off from your car is just like yours.
The officers proceeded to charge Scott with several offenses, including leaving the scene of an accident, false reporting of a crime, failure to carry a concealed weapon license, and possession of marijuana. However, these charges were later dropped by the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office in November 2021, indicating that there was insufficient evidence to pursue the case against Scott.
To the time, I really just jumped out of the car to go see. That's it. If you want, like I said, we can go. Like, I had my kids and stuff like that, dropped them off, came over to say hi. And I went, I don't know what happened. I mean, like I said, I know the people that stay across there, over here, all over the place. I don't know what happened. My car just, somebody jumped in, drove off. And I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, I didn't do it. I mean, literally, I mean, why would I call the police? I mean, I called because my car is stolen. I mean, how me and my kids are going to get home? My pillow, my work ID, my work stuff, all of that stuff is in there. Why would I? That's why I'm like, why am I in handcuffs? If I'm calling them and I'm...
All right, just give me a second. You never been arrested before?
No.
Sure about that?
Yeah. Never been arrested. Ex-military.
As a result of this wrongful arrest and detention, Samuel Scott Jr. is now suing the Miami PD and 5 specific officers involved in the incident. His lawsuit alleges unlawful search, false imprisonment, and unwarranted prosecution. Scott's attorney is seeking $500,000 in damages for the physical, emotional, and reputational harm caused by the incident. Let's now move to another video.
You ready? Four.
Wait, he didn't do anything! No. For what? Then why are you touching my son? He's in the car. My son is in the car. I don't want you to look after him. My son is in the car. No. Yeah, that was me. No one's gonna be hurt. Just get out of the car.
In this incident, the London Metropolitan Police pulled over 2 world-class athletes, and they have been accused of racial profiling. One of the athletes is Bianca Williams, a member of Great Britain's sprint team. According to Williams, the police officers approached their car aggressively and seemed ready to break the car window within seconds of their encounter. Ricardo dos Santos, who is Williams' partner and a record holder in the 400-meter event, denies the allegations of cannabis possession made by the police. He expresses feeling hurt and fearful as a result of the incident.
Basta che non sparano. Una macchina nuova quella, che sei?
One other video surfaced showing AC Milan's Tom Way Bakayoko being detained and searched by police officers who had firearms drawn.
No, le vedo. La vedo. C'è una visuale precisa proprio.
However, Bakayoko was released after the officers recognized him as a famous footballer. The Milan police initially claimed that the check on Bakayoko was conducted with high security measures and justified by the context of the operation. However, they later apologized and released Bakayoko after realizing his identity. The police statement mentioned that the check was carried out in a manner consistent with the perceived danger, but the officer's shock upon recognizing Bakayoko suggests a potential misunderstanding or error in judgment. On June 4, 2021, 3 Locust Grove police officers in Henry County approached YouTuber Hellcat Infamous, suspecting him of loitering and potential involvement in drug-related activities at a gas station. Is the YouTuber related to any drug-related activity? Let's watch the video further and see what happens.
Showing up with a 54 male, quick trip, now white, Dodge Charger.
Deputy Nicole Colleen Pitts led her colleagues to approach and interrogate the YouTuber about his activities. The other 2 officials made their way to the spot after being called there by the lady officer.
Are you hanging out? Are you with somebody? Are you waiting on somebody? Are you lost?
I live out here.
So, the reason I'm asking, we've been here how long? Probably 20 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah, I was just
got
like
any gas. You hacked on it and got any food. You parked at the gas pump. And I know the tank's not on the side. It's on the other side, right?
No, I'll never take this thing today.
So, what are you doing?
The second officer entered the frame and asked the YouTuber whether he was hanging out with friends or doing something else. Subtly inquiring as to why he was there, the man responded that he resides there in response to the question, where the officer stated that they had a good reason to suspect criminal activity in the area due to its long-standing history of such activity.
I'm just chilling. I want to go home. I can't sit in the parking lot. Because I live out here.
Where are you living? You have some ID? Let me see your ID. Or is it in the car?
It's on me, but what's in the car?
Acting all confused, the cop asked the guy again, what exactly is he doing at the gas station? Clueless Elcat asked whether he's doing something wrong while staying up there, as he was just chilling and grabbing something to eat, which is not wrong.
I mean, you can make it super difficult, but you do.
No, I'm just wondering why y'all. But I've literally been on the phone just talking.
I know.
Go and get your ID.
The YouTuber's identification was requested by the police, and the man complains and asked why she is doing so. The officer then advised the young man not to make matters any more difficult than they already were for themselves. The important thing to note here is, according to the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, a police officer is allowed to stop a suspect on the street and frisk him or her without probable cause to arrest if the officer has a reasonable suspicion that the person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a crime and has a reasonable belief that the person may be armed. Well, in this case, the authorities assert that the YouTuber in question was loitering around the gas station and that the surrounding area was notorious for narcotics trafficking and other forms of criminal activity.
Get your ID, and while you give us your ID, she can speak with you. But you need to identify yourself, so go and get your ID.
So right now what it falls under is loitering. Yes.
Yes.
Because like if you were like getting gas, waiting on somebody, like if you were doing anything other than just kind of like hanging out, it wouldn't be an issue.
Well, I've been on the phone.
We know.
This area is known for narcotic activity. It's known for criminal activity.
The other officer barged in and asked for the man's ID and said that he is needed to be identified, where the lady officer comes and talks about why he's waiting there so long, as the area is quite popular for narcotics activity, and that's why they're asking for the man's identification. The man claimed he lives out here, where the cop says he believed him but still asked for the ID.
Because, you know, everybody... If you,
yeah, but I've never been, like,
listen,
I know a lot of detectives.
If you notice the folks turn, they get their gas and they go.
Yeah.
So, the state's definition is doing something not like the norm. Hanging out in the gas pump, not like the norm.
The man gave his ID card for identification. After verifying the YouTuber's ID and discovering no prior criminal records, the officers continued their questioning before ultimately departing without filing any charges. This sequence of events raises questions about the legitimacy of their initial suspicion and the necessity of their prolonged interrogation. The absence of criminal records suggests a lack of reasonable grounds for their continued investigation.
That would add to it, but you didn't, so it makes it look a lot better. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I literally come here all the time. I live here. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's fine, but you can't just, if you're not doing any business, if you're not getting gas, you're not going to get food.
I'm actually finna go in there. I just had a phone conversation.
Well, that's cool, but now that we've had this communication, it's what they call dispelling the alarm. Now that we're able to figure out, okay, this guy doesn't have any issues or anything like that.
Now, the lady cop is trying to make the man understand that she came to question due to suspicion, but the man didn't run away after seeing the cop, and that's a green flag that he didn't do anything, to which the man got furious and asked, why would he even run when he's done nothing wrong? To which she replied that it looked better. She was trying to explain why she came in the first place, but her explanation was kind of dumb and baseless. Where the other cop comes in and tried to save the conversation but failed miserably, as the YouTuber claims that he lives nearby and there's nothing wrong with calling on a gas station and talking for a half hour. To which the cop replied that now that we are dispelling the alarm as they had the conversation with the YouTuber and nothing is wrong here.
Don't get me by our merry way. But we never met you a day in our life. I never met you.
I've never gotten
She's never met you. He's never met you. So we're just doing our jobs. What we're getting paid to do.
The cops have stated they're merely performing the duties for which they are paid, and the lady cop was talking on her walkie-talkie.
You got to, and then head on home, alright?
Yeah, but
Second
that's
thing,
kind of
your...
crazy.
It's...
Like, I've never...
Go look up loitering in Georgia Code section.
My father's a retired sheriff.
Okay.
I know, but I've never...
Like I said, this area is known for drug transactions. We're going to make sure none of that's occurring here tonight. So.
The lady cop told the YouTuber to get home, where the YouTuber replied and called her crazy, where the male cop jumps into the conversation and told to look up loitering in Georgia, where it turned out that the YouTuber's father is a retired sheriff, to which the male cop said that the heirs are known for drug transactions and they're just making sure none of that's occurring there.
Well, no, I write that $7. I've been tracking that. I don't do no drug activity.
And like you said earlier, the reason we got out with you and asked you and didn't just like immediately throw you in handcuffs was called dispelling the alarm. That's all that happened. So, but do these change? Like, can you make them just one regular color?
I can turn them off with a switch.
Okay, so the blue lights, you can't have blue lights.
The female officer stated there's a party going on in the area and they're concerned that there will be drugs involved. Because of this, they approached the YouTuber and asked him about it. However, the situation is completely different than what the officer stated, as there are many people in the gas station, but the police only had suspicions about the YouTuber, possibly because of his race. And they requested the YouTuber to change the color of his car's light, questioning why the blue color light is on rather than the standard one.
And you definitely should. Then you should definitely understand our job. Then you should understand. If you say all these things, and if you're in the profession, you would understand why we're doing our job.
That's why I had no problem.
Right. And we definitely appreciate the cooperation. No, it's not random. We sat there for a while.
The YouTuber tried to explain his point of view, stating that his father's a retired sheriff and he won't do things like that, to which the cop tried to explain himself, stating that the YouTuber should understand where the police are coming from. And then the cop stated they appreciate the cooperation. The policeman tried to explain they saw a guy coming towards the YouTuber and thought it could be drug-related, that's why they intervened, but the YouTuber replied the car he's driving. The guy complimented the car and nothing else.
Affairs going on. Now we're gonna be about our way, because if we thought something nefarious was going on, then we'd be going a whole different direction. You understand? But we have to dispel alarm, make sure nothing nefarious is going on. You understand that?
The officers state that they'll be on their way after conversing with the YouTuber. They explained that if they had suspected any suspicious or illegal activities, their approach would have been different. However, their intention was to dispel any concerns and ensure that no nefarious actions were taking place. They encouraged the YouTuber to familiarize themselves with the relevant code section, specifically mentioning loitering, spelled it out, and recommended looking it up for further information.
Look it up.
Deputy Nicole Pitts, who was one of the cops that was involved in the event, was made to face the consequences of her actions by having her employment with the Locust Grove Police Department terminated. The particular factors that led to her being fired are being kept a secret for time being. During the course of a phone call, Chief of Police Derek Austin verified the accuracy of this information.
You know what else is that? ID on you?
I don't need ID.
Yes, you do need ID.
No, I don't need ID.
If you're coming into the middle of our investigation, you do.
Actually, this is the middle of the street, and I'm walking on a public street.
You're not supposed to be in the middle of the street, so that's a violation.
Actually, there's no sidewalks here, so it's not.
You cannot be in the middle of the street.
Well, you notice you're blocking the way on the side of the street.
All right, let me get a pad. You have ID at all?
During the encounter, McLinnis asserts that he's not required to provide identification to the officers. However, the officers argue that since he is intervening in the middle of their investigation, he must provide identification. McLinnis counters their claim by stating he's simply walking along a public street, which lacks sidewalks. He points out that he's not obstructing traffic since there is ample space on the side of the street.
I don't have to show ID. I have not committed a crime.
Did you drive here?
No.
But you have to ID who you are.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Under Florida statutes, we're not an ID upon demand state.
McLinnis maintains that he is not obligated to present ID since he's not committed any crime. However, the officer insists that McLinnis must provide identification, even questioning if he drove to the location. McLinnis continues to assert his position, stating he is not legally required to provide identification, citing that Florida statutes do not classify the state as an ID upon demand jurisdiction.
Am I being detained?
Are you writing him a ticket? You do understand when there's not a sidewalk, there's a certain direction that you need to write. You need to walk on the street, right? You can't just walk down the middle.
Well, when you have all the cars blocking the side of the road, it makes it kind of difficult.
Okay, well, guess what, Perry Mason? Since you're so good on the
are you a police officer?
As another officer joins the conversation, they inquire whether McLinnis intends to issue a ticket. They then explain that when there's no sidewalk available, there is a specific direction for pedestrians to walk onto the street, emphasizing that walking in the middle is not permissible. McLinnis responds by highlighting the challenge of following the designated walking direction when all the cars are blocking the side of the road.
You're so good on the
are you a police officer? I'm asking you to identify yourself.
Excuse me?
I'm asking you to identify yourself. Are you a police officer?
Yes, I am.
Can you please give me your name and badge number?
No.
Are you refusing to identify yourself?
What, is there a Florida state statute that says I must?
I think it's are you a Pinellas County Sheriff?
Yes, I am.
McClinnis requests the officer to identify themselves by providing their name and badge number. The officer declines to comply with the request. McClinnis then questions whether the officer is refusing to identify themselves and asks if there's a Florida state statute that mandates such identification. The officer suggests that it is likely the case, but McClinnis inquires specifically about the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office policy regarding citizen requests for officer identification. The officer does not provide a clear response.
How am I supposed to file a complaint against you?
Okay. What do you want to file a complaint for? 'Cause if you want it, I'll give it to you.
I do want it. I've asked for it.
But let me finish my train of thought first before you interrupted me with all your Perry Mason stuff.
McClinnis continues to express his frustration and asks the officer how he's supposed to file a complaint if needed. The officer responds by asking for clarification on the reason for the complaint. The officer then asks McClinnis if he understands that there is a Florida state statute prohibiting walking in the middle of the road, seeking a simple yes or no answer to his question. As the two other officers join the conversation, they question McClinnis' statement that they are not blocking the road. McClinnis responds by reiterating that the officers are obstructing the pathway on the side of the road.
How are we blocking you?
Exactly.
You are blocking the pathway on the side of the road. This is the intimidation that the Pinellas County Sheriff's trying to use if you exercise your First Amendment activity. They surround you, accuse you of crimes, refuse to identify themselves, intimidate yourself. Why aren't you continuing with your investigation? Why are you out here bothering me?
He suggests that this behavior is an attempt by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office to intimidate individuals who exercise their First Amendment rights. McClinnis further asserts that the officers surround individuals, accuse them of crimes, and refuse to identify themselves, creating an environment of intimidation.
It's not a pedestrian violation, but nice try.
You're right. You're the expert. You know, I've only spent 20 years doing this job. You're the expert, though, right?
After 20 years, you still think it's necessary?
After
20 years, you think it's actually necessary to come out in the street and bother people who are walking by?
You can't walk in the middle of the road.
And when you have the street blocked, the side of the road blocked.
The street's not blocked.
You have the side of the road blocked.
The street's not blocked. Sir.
Yeah.
Shine your phone that way, because I want to make sure that you see this as well, that this is on video.
Yeah, I'll shine the phone.
So from here, all the way through, past the area that you actually walk through.
McClinnis questions why the officers are bothering him instead of continuing with their investigation. He asserts he was simply walking with his camera in front of him and questions if the officers have an issue with that.
See this as well, that this is on video.
Yeah, I'll shine the phone.
So from here, all the way through, past the area that you actually walk through, the street is not blocked.
This side of the street is
blocked.
blocked.
The vehicles are on the curb, but you actually walk. So how is that actually blocking?
This side of the street is blocked.
Okay.
McClinnis argues there was no civil infraction committed on his part, emphasizing that walking in the middle of the road is not a pedestrian violation when the side of the road is blocked and there are no sidewalks available.
By walking down the middle of the street and conducting a First Amendment activity.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about?
I didn't want to talk to any of you in the first place.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You can leave now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The officer sarcastically remarks that McClinnis must be the expert, despite their 20 years of experience on the job. McClinnis responds by pointing out that even after 20 years, the officer still believes it is necessary to come out onto the street and bother people who are merely walking by. As another officer approaches McClinnis, they ask him to shine his phone in a particular direction to show him that the street's not blocked beyond the area where he walked. The officer argues that since McClinnis walked on the curb, it did not hinder the side of the street. McClinnis reiterates there are no sidewalks available, emphasizing the lack of an alternative path. The officer responds by stating McClinnis is impeding their ongoing investigation.
I still can't walk down this side of the street.
Asked you and told you to leave. Leave now.
So I have to leave the street.
Leave this investigation right now.
So where is the investigation? Where's the blue line? Is it over here? Is it over here? Is it over here? Is she impeding the investigation too? I'm just curious.
McClinnis insists he still cannot walk on the side of the street. He questions the whereabouts of the investigation and sarcastically asks if the blue line indicating police presence extends to different areas. The implication is that the officers are unnecessarily impeding his right to walk freely. Mr. McClinnis continues to videotape the police vehicles as he carefully left the location, having no further problems. He then attempted to register complaints against the deputies involved. Mr. McClinnis started the process by requesting public documents to find out who the deputies were. Unfortunately, his request was refused and the needed information was not given to him.